everyone, my name is Amber. Welcome back to my channel, Amber Reads Romance. Today I'm here with my wrap up for March. I'm going to be going over my stats, my top books, might mention the worst book of the month, and just kind of go over my favorites for March. So let's go ahead and get started with my March wrap up. Okay guys, so I am going to go over my top books. First, I'll start with my stats. You know how it goes. I actually just got home from work. It was pouring right when I got home, and I wasn't able to film this when I planned to film it on the weekend. I usually film on Sundays. I try to get as much filming as I can done, and I just didn't get to this. So I had to do this after work. So bear with the no makeup and haggard look, but it is what it is. I needed to get this up to you guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So with my March or my monthly wrap-ups, I am not gonna go over all the books that I read. If you are new to my channel, I actually do weekly wrap-ups. I used to do mid-month and end-of-the-month wrap-ups, but with how many books I'm reading and how long I talk about each book, it was just too much. So I decided to do weekly wrap-ups. That way I can spend the time with each book that I really want to gush about or rant about, whatever it is. And so if you're interested, if you want all the books that I read, I do have a playlist of all my weekly wrap-ups. So let's go ahead and dive in to March. So I'm going to start with my stats. I know you guys probably don't care, but this is something that I'm keeping track of. I have a spreadsheet. I'm keeping track of all the different genres, how many books I read, pages read, just all that kind of stuff, what kind of format I'm reading everything in, because I'm trying to keep track of that for the year and for my goals and all of that kind of stuff. It's really, I don't know, other people probably think it's dorky that aren't into the reading community, but we all love kind of tracking where we're at with our reading for the year. So in March, it went really, really great. I read 33 books, and that was 11,287 pages. So I definitely read more this month. Obviously, February is a shorter month, but I was kind of struggling a little bit. So this month was a lot better for me. And the formats that I read, I had 7 ARCs, 8 ALCs. I read 10 audiobooks along with the 7 ALCs. So basically 17 audiobooks. I'm sorry, 18 audiobooks. And then I had 5 ebooks and 3 physical books. So I read 3 paperbacks. So I usually barely ever read any physical copies of things because I'm always on my Kindle and all of that. So that was kind of actually different for me this month. And then, hold on, let me pull this up real quick here. Okay, sorry about that. I was having issues with my computer pulling up my information here. Okay, so for the ratings that I did have, I had 1 6-star, which was fantastic, which I'll be gushing about here. I did have 14 5 stars, which is a lot. And then I had 2 4.5 stars, 13 4 stars, 2 3.5 stars, and then 1 3-star. So all around, that was a fantastic month. Again, that's kind of why I do the 6 stars, because I do give a lot of 5 stars out, but I want to kind of highlight the more important ones too. So the kind of types of books that I was reading, I read 10 contemporaries, 3 dark romance, 3 mafia, 5 historicals, which I'm doing really good, trying to stick with about 5 a month or more of historical romances. So that was fantastic. 2 paranormal, 1 alien, 1 fantasy, 3 sports romances, and then 5 small town romances. I have noticed that I've been reading a lot of more small town type of romances lately, which is kind of, I never really thought that was my main thing. So definitely love that. But so those are just kind of some of my stats. I know it's kind of boring, but whatever. It's interesting to track those type of things. So now I'm going to talk about the top books that I had for the month, which, as you saw, that's 33 books. Lots of 5 stars. I have my 6 star, so it's kind of hard, always hard for me to narrow it down, but I do want to not make this video super long. So I think I have about 5 that I'm going to go over. And then, of course, the first one that I'm going to bring up is the 6-star read, which, if you have seen my channel lately, you probably already know what it is. I do have a vlog coming soon on this because it was a 12 rec for 12 friends. And so I'm sure you'll see this a lot on my channel because I freaking loved it. And that was Unsteady by Peyton, Corinne. This is a new to me author. This was her first book, which just blew me away. It is a sports romance, but it's a lot more emotional. It has found family and just one of the top book boyfriends that I've read. So Reese has been added to my top book boyfriend list. He just has. I got emotional multiple times during this book. It just really touched me and I really loved it. So in this, we have Reese, and he is a hockey player. They're in college at this time, and he had a really bad accident when he was he got very badly injured, and it was kind of like a fucked up. It wasn't, because you get physical in hockey, but this seemed like a pretty fucked up move by this other hockey player. It did end up getting called that it was like a fair hit or whatever, but it was really bad to the point he was concussed. He couldn't see at the time. And it was very traumatic for him. So he ended up getting a lot of PTSD issues, panic attacks, nightmares, and he's having a hard time getting back out on the ice again. And then we have, I believe it's Sadie. Yes, Sadie. And she has such a tough life. She is an older sister to 2 brothers that she basically takes on. She's like the parent to them. Their mom basically abandoned them, and the father is a severe alcoholic that does not take care of his kids. And she is a college student. She is a figure skater, and she's working multiple jobs, going to college, doing her figure skating, and taking care of her brothers. So her life is just a mess, and she's always overwhelmed and stressed out. And she ends up kind of running into Reese because his father is a pro hockey player, and he does this kind of a skating hockey outreach kind of program for kids. And so her brothers happen to be in that. And so Reese is helping out one day, volunteering. He's working with the little kids, and his dad's working with the older kids. So that's the older brother is with her dad, and he's helping her little brother. And she shows up late when all the parents have already come picked up their kids. And so he kind of judges her a little harshly in the beginning. Because he's like, you should really be here, And he doesn't really understand because she's pretty young what her relationship is, what's going on there. But then they run into each other again because Sadie actually works at this ice rink that he goes to for hockey and all of that. And she's able to go in and before opening so that she can practice her figure skating and all of that. And she goes to go skate, and she sees Reese having a very bad panic attack on the ice. And she basically helps him through it. And this kind of starts these morning skates between each other where they really become friends. She helps him with his PTSD, his panic attacks. He kind of gets really attached to her and realizes later, he was kind of using her as a crutch for his anxiety and issues. And that wasn't fair to her. But they really like each other. They have such a great friendship, and, he's crushing on her. She's crushing on him, but she's very closed off. She has a hectic life, so she doesn't really want to go have a relationship. And the more they get to know each other, the physical attraction comes into play. And so they decide to kind of maybe be friends with benefits. But really, Reese wants more, and he's biding his time to get there with her. Sadie is very, doesn't like to ask for help. She's very private about everything that's going on in her personal life. And so she has a really hard time asking for help. And Reese is just so patient with her. And there comes a point when he has to help her out with her brothers and go pick them up. And he gets to see what her home life is like and what she's dealing with. And he just feels so horrible about how he treated her when they first met and realizing everything that's on her shoulders. And he just wants to help her. And he actually has his parents get involved. You know, they fall for these brothers. The brothers really have such a beautiful relationship with Reese. And it's just so beautiful. The way that Reese reaches out to these brothers, the way his parents took her and her brothers in and just want to be there for them. It's very beautiful. Now, it did remind me of Binding 13, Keeping 13 a little bit with like Johnny's parents. It did remind me of that. It's just not as devastating as that. Her home life was way worse. So that one was, you know, devastating home life. Hers is bad, but it's not to that extent. But what we have is, you know, Ree's just in love with her. He's gone for her. She really loves him too, but she's just scared to be in a relationship and ask for help, and she doesn't want to be a burden and all of those things. So like Ree's just really like lays it on, and he's so patient with her and is like, there's no third act breakup in this. And he basically tells her like, you know, we can go slow, but I'm not leaving you. Like, I will never leave you. I will never leave your brothers. I am here for good and I will be there for you. And he just proves it with his actions and how devoted he is to her. And it's just beautiful. So, I could gush and gush and gush about this. It really got me emotional and got me up in my feels. How amazing Reese was with her and with her brothers just like melted my heart, and I love him so much. Like, he is top book boyfriend material, and I just loved this book. And I loved Sadie too, because she was so strong but yet vulnerable, and you know, getting the help that she needed. I mean, it's just beautiful. I love his parents. Like, I was like trying to look up her backlist and not realizing this is the first book, because I want his parents to have a book, because they have a crazy like romance like story too. That was just sounds like a perfect book. So I'm hoping that she'll write one for the parents later. I don't know, but I just loved it. So this was my 6-star read. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. I think it's definitely worth the hype that I've been seeing it get on BookTube and Bookstagram. So definitely a fantastic read. Okay, so the other one that I finished near the end of the month, and I was surprised by how much I loved it, and that was Off to the Races by Elsie Silver. This, I believe, was actually Elsie's first book, and I freaking loved it. In my last wrap-up, I went into detail about it, so I probably won't go as long here as I did there. So if you want to see that, check out my most recent weekly wrap-up. But I almost gave this 6 stars, and that was because of the horse, and the heroine's relationship with the horse in this was so beautiful. I like cried a couple times. I was very emotionally like invested in this horse, Dee. You know, he was a trouble horse, and she really gets to know the horse, builds the trust. They become like almost like soulmates. So the horse relationship really got to me. I love horses. And so it really got to me, but I didn't give it 6 stars because the relationship wasn't perfect, but I still really loved this book. I thought it was fantastic. So, let me double check here. Okay, so this is the first book in the Gold Rush Ranch series, and this is Vaughn and Billy's romance. And Vaughn is in a bad place where his family, I think they own like a mining company, and then they had like this ranch too, and like for race horses and all that kind of stuff. And his grandfather had just passed away, and all this stuff came out about him doing illegal activities. So they kind of got banned from certain racing for a little bit. They're kind of like suspended. And so he really just wants to clear his grandfather's name. And he's basically staying out at the ranch and trying to get it going again. and he ends up hiring Billy. Now, he thought Billy was going to be a man, and this gorgeous woman shows up, and they immediately kind of butt heads. He's kind of an asshole at first, but she is a feisty woman. She's one of my favorite new heroines. I think she's one of my favorite Elsie Silver up with Willa, you know, like I just really loved her. And she doesn't let him get away with being an ass. She calls him on his shit. So they have a boss employee, crazy banter type of relationship. He ends up giving her this kind of impossible task of getting their like kind of problem horse that's really, you know, would be an elite, would be a huge, it's worth a lot of money. But this horse won't let anybody near them. He charges at people. He's just a cantankerous little shit. And he basically gives that as her, she needs to get him ready to be raced and everything. And so she really works hard and builds this beautiful relationship with Dee. His name is Double Diablo or whatever. And she's like, that's a horrible name to give this horse. So she calls him Dee. And so she really just builds this beautiful relationship with him. And she gets him to be able to be racing and everything. And there's this one scene that is like one of my favorite things because she's the trainer. She's not a jockey. So they kind of hire this jockey who doesn't come ahead of time to like, you know, race the horse. He just shows up ready to race it. And she's very particular with her instructions because Dee has anxiety dealing with other horses and the racing and everything. And he is a very specific, you got to handle him with care. And she told him, do not use the whip. Don't use it. You better not use it. And you know, that fucker used the freaking whip. And that put Dee into like, you know, he went into shock. He has this whole like medical thing happened because of the shock and the anxiety that he got from that. And she ended up like going to the jockey while he was up in the VIP room schmoozing. And she like hit him with the whip and it was just fantastic. So she's one of my favorite heroines. Like I freaking loved it. So her and Vaughn have this insane chemistry. They have amazing banter. And so they decide to finally kind of start, you know, hooking up and being together. But, you know, he does a thing that's pretty fucked up near the end of the third act breakup type of thing that, you know, but he does make a big grand gesture. So I didn't hate it, but I was pissed at the time because it does have to do with Dee and Dee had my heart. So, I really thought this was spicy. I thought it was a really good first book. I was surprised. I saw a lot of people rating it like 3.5 stars. And I guess I just got won over by Dee. I just love their relationship. I love the heroine. So I really had a great time with this one. Okay, so now the third book that I want to bring up is a historical romance that I finally read. A vlog will be coming soon, probably the end of April for this one because I'm also reading the second book in this series. And this is The Madness of Lord Ian MacKenzie. And I am so happy I finally read this. This is a new to me author. I've never read Jennifer Ashley, and I really loved this book. I love that she wrote, wrote about a man, you know, our hero is on the spectrum in like a historical romance. You don't see that a lot. And so I love that representation in here. And I just loved this. So in this, we have Ian MacKenzie, obviously, and Beth. And he, you know, actually, he was in an asylum for a bit. You know, horrible things happened to him in this asylum. His older brother got him out finally. He's a duke, I believe. And so people think he's mad because he is different. He's on the spectrum. He's very high functioning though, but he does have those type of episodes. He can get overwhelmed. You know, he can't really look people in the eyes. So they think he's strange. There's things about him being mad. And he ends up talking to this guy that's kind of a douchebag. And this guy's bragging about this woman that was like a widow and she's going to be his wife. And so he decides he kind of wants to find out about this woman and maybe warn her off because this guy that she's marrying has like not just mistresses, but he has like a house of mistresses that he like says he wants to be their slave and do that dynamic, which I thought was kind of fun and crazy for historical. But so he shows up to, I believe it was the opera, I think. And he decides to kind of warn her off. And he's very attracted to her. She is a widow. She wasn't from, like, she's not in the 10. She's not, you know, upper elite or anything, but she had married, I think it was a vicar. I can't remember, but he had passed away. And so she became a companion to this older woman that really didn't have any family. And when that woman died, she basically left her inheritance and everything to Beth. So now she has quite a bit of money, you know, and prestige and stuff because of this. And that's why that guy is marrying her. And so when Lord Ian MacKenzie warns her off, he also was just like, oh, well, I'll marry you. And she's like, why would you want to marry me? And he says, because you have beautiful eyes. And I love that scene because she's like, well, how would you know? You haven't looked at my eyes this whole time. And he's just like, I know. And so she is very attracted to him. She's very intrigued by him. She doesn't like think he's bad like everybody else. She does think he acts a little different, but she fully accepts him, and that's what I love about her character in this book. But she decides, you know what, I just got out of this horrible marriage that I probably would have ended up in. I have all this money. I don't really need to get married. And so she ends up traveling to Paris. She decides she wants to randomly pick up some art and try and do art in Paris. And she actually runs into Lord Ian MacKenzie's brother there because he's actually an artist too. And Ian MacKenzie decides to follow her there because he is obsessed and he wants to make her his. So she ends up deciding to kind of, how about we have like a fair type of situation? We'll see each other, have benefit situation. And he agrees to this, but he's like going to wear her down and he wants to make her his wife. So we also have added thing in here about this one inspector or detective, whatever it is, investigating and kind of harassing the MacKenzies. He thinks Ian MacKenzie killed a prostitute and another one actually ended up dead recently. And so he's like traveling. He like follows them to Paris. He's kind of like stalking this family, really motivated to prove that he killed this woman. And so he's kind of getting involved with Beth and all of that. So I love this. I'm not going to go too much more into it, but I've already talked enough. But I really loved Ian MacKenzie in this. I loved him and Beth's relationship. They have amazing chemistry. They're just really beautiful together. Ian basically lets her know from the start, like, I can't love. Like, I don't know how to be in love with anybody. I don't feel love. So I can't do that, but I will be a great husband to you. I'll be here for you, blah, all that. But of course, we know he's going to find love with Beth. So I loved this. Highly recommend if you haven't read it yet. It's a fantastic historical romance, and I can't wait to get to the second book in April. Okay, so then the next one that I have was actually one that I got an ARC for, and I just really loved it. It was my favorite in the series, and this was Hidden Roots by Clio Evans. This is a very erotic romance type of series. It's small town, deals with like romantic suspense too, but they're pretty erotic. And this one I was really excited for because the previous two books, this is the third book in the series. We're kind of alluding to this couple because they've like came off like they hated each other. They always are bickering. They're always at each other's throats. And so this is kind of like an enemies to lovers, but honestly, like the hero's obsessed with her and he's acting like he hates her. So it's enemies, lovers, but the hero is obsessed with her. So in this, we have Hunter and Emma is actually the best friend to like the heroine from the first book. And she came and moved to this small town. And, you know, when she rolled into town, she happened to kind of like, I think she ran out of gas and she was on the side of the road. And Hunter is a good Samaritan. He pulls over to help her. And she had like a taser out because there was a serial killer in the first couple books that had to do with that. And she accidentally tases him. And so that was their introduction. So she thinks that he hates her from that, but really he became obsessed with her and he's like smitten with her and just is so into her. And it's been a few years of her living in this town. And then what ends up happening is they're kind of setting them up to work on this event where they have to work together. I think the friends are kind of trying to make them get along. And so when he's over there one day, because they have to talk about things, all of a sudden her ex-husband shows up. Now, nobody even knew that she was married. So she's kept this very private, hidden this part of her life. She had a very rich, powerful father that she's basically been cut off from her family. She doesn't have a good relationship with her father. She married this guy because she felt like she had to with her family, and it wasn't a great marriage. And so she is not happy to see him. And he basically lets her know that her dad died. And it was like weeks ago. She was never notified. And then now her ex wants to be with her. He thinks that they should be back together. And so she kind of like freaks out. Really, we know he wants some shady shit, and probably because her dad died. And because her dad did leave her like the company. And so he wants her to like sign it over to him. And he's not leaving town. So she freaks out and she ends up bringing up that Hunter is her boyfriend. And Hunter takes it a step further and says that he's her fiance. And so now her ex is not leaving town till like he basically wants to wear her down to get his way. And they have to be like fake engaged. Now that they're being fake engaged now in public, because none of their family or friends know that this is fake, they are having to finally acknowledge their sexual attraction to each other. And so they decide to start hooking up. And they're very forward and very open about talking about their kinks. And so there's a lot of good kinky times here. And so they start to, really fall for each other. There's lots of good sex. We have, obviously, it's romantic suspense. That's kind of thrown in here too, because she has a stalker situation. So he needs to even be around even more to keep an eye on her. So I just really love this. I loved Hunter. He was so gone for her. And I just thought it was such a great time. Just some of the kinky stuff in here. We have toys, voyeurism, exhibitionism, anal, breeding, rimming, role play, shibari, and then the best was the pegging. Like there was an amazing pegging scene, and they do that when they're like already basically in love with each other. And it's just this beautiful, trusting like thing that they do. He really trusts her and loves her. And it was just, I love that they did that. Like it was very beautiful. So I loved this. I thought it was a great time. I do kind of think you would probably need to read the first two before you read this one, honestly, because of the romantic suspense stuff. All the suspense elements carry through each book, so you may need that. But it was my favorite in the series, and I had such a great time with it. Okay, so the last one that I have was actually the Immortals After Dark book, and I didn't really want to fully talk about it till the live show, but I'm just going to talk about it because it was one of my favorites of the month. And that is Dark Needs at Night's Edge. And this is Conrad Roth's book and Noemi. And Noemi is actually a ghost. And he's a vampire. And I just thought, how is this going to work? I had no idea how Kresley Cole was going to get this to work. And this has been it's like my favorite in the series so far because it felt so different. I'm not really totally into the Valkyries. They kind of bore me. They're always like the badass heroine, blah, blah, blah. So I get kind of bored of those. I loved that this was like such an interesting character. She was, a ballerina, but she also was kind of like, I think she did some type of like almost Lady of the Night type of, boudoir kind of dancing, but she made herself successful, did ballet and all of that kind of stuff. But she ended up getting married by her jilted, murdered by her jilted fiance. And, now she's been haunting this mansion type of gothic kind of situation going on. And now Conrad is being dragged to this mansion because he has been kind of gone a little bit crazy. He's one of the vampires that has the red eyes. He is an assassin. He's kind of an assassin for hire, and he has, they kind of go crazy if the vampires are actually feeding off humans or other immortals and things like that. They can bring on their memories. They can also take on their powers. So he's pretty powerful. He's got a demon kind of guy after him because he had gotten somebody important, like killed somebody important, where he would have their stuff in his head. So there's a lot of stuff going on there, but his brothers want to try and kind of do like a detox thing with him. So they end up doing spells on this house where he can't leave and kind of having him stuck in this mansion to try and get him off of the, blood and going crazy and raging, vampire situation that he's in. But he actually can see Noemi. And so he's like, am I crazy? Is this like a hallucination? Because they will have hallucinations from like all the memories they took in from the people they killed. But he ends up being stuck in this house with this ghost, and she realizes he can see her. And so they are like in this forced proximity type of thing, but he can't touch her. And the fact that he couldn't touch her or anything made it like so romantic to me, because it's like they really had to like have feelings and get to know each other. And so how is Kresley Cole going to make this work? Because this is actually his fated mate, but how are you going to be with a ghost? So I just love the way this played out. It was really action packed. I loved how it brought in like the witches, Mariquetta again. There was just, the world keeps building, and I just love the kind of gothic vibes of this one. It just felt a lot more romantic. I love Conrad's character. He was kind of like, he also was one of those groups that was like going after vampires. So then when he was dying and he was turned into a vampire, those people were after him too, because now he's like an abomination type of thing. So he was actually also like a virgin because he never really got with any girls when, he was mortal. And then when you're a vampire, and Kresley Cole's thing, you can't get hard or, have sex with anybody but your mate. And so, he's very attracted to Noemi. And then is she going to be able to be in a physical form at some point? And how are they going to be together? It was just really fascinating. So unique. I'd never read anything like it. And I just love these two and how they came together and like how hard he falls in love with her. So, I loved it. I think it's one of the favorite of mine in the series. And I'm just so excited by this one. So those are my top books from the month. Basically, I'm not going to go too deep into it. My worst book of the month was a 3-star. It was an ARC. It was Corrupt Me by Bianca Burrell. And I was really bummed out because I really liked all the other books in this series. And this one took me so long to get through. I was so bored. It was kind of like enemies to lovers, but they were both obsessed with each other. And like, I just couldn't connect to the story. I didn't care about the relationship. And then like, I literally skimmed like 50% of this book because it was long. For what it was, it could have been like 100 pages, 200 pages shorter. There were so many sex scenes that like I was skimming every sex scene. And they felt very repetitive. The lines they used for during romantic moments were super cringy. So I just really had a hard time with this one. And I felt bad, but I had to give an honest review because I really struggled with it. And, it was not great. And everybody else that was getting ARCs were all giving it 5 stars. So I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it just didn't work for me. And it kind of bummed me out because I really did enjoy the rest of that series. But anyways, those are my top books. Those are my stats. March was a great month. April, there's so many new releases. I just posted my TBR video, which ended up being way longer and having way more than I thought I put on it. So if you're interested, check that out. But I am very excited for things to come. Jen just announced the Mafia Romance Readathon, which is happening in May. And I'm going to be co-hosting in that. And I'm just so thankful for Jen including me because I'm a smaller channel. Jen's like, I'm She's my favorite booktuber, you know, and I've wanted to be a part of that Mafia Readathon for so long. So I'm so excited. I hope you guys join us. I just recently posted in my community Jen's announcement video because she just did the announcement. So make sure you check it out because it is going to be from May 1st through the 10th. I'll probably be posting a video soon with more information on it and then kind of, you know, my plans probably for it. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this. Hit that subscribe button, leave me a like, let me know your favorite book of March or what you're currently reading, and I will see you guys on the next one.